Welcome, everybody, to Corner 3, our awesome best basketball podcast on the planet, brought to you by Fanbyte. I'm your host, Khalif Adams, and I'm joined this week and every week with my mans, my mellows, the cool kind of fellows, the now almost at the top of the screen, Nikki Grayson. How are you doing, Nikki?
Well, one day I will grow another 4 inches, and I will be taller from the waist up.
Taller from the waist up. That's what I'm talking about. Hashtag taller from the waist up. Let's go. My man, my mellow, smooth kind of fellow. That man with the dopest shirt in the basketball game. We have John Warren. How you doing, sir?
What's up? Can I get some of that growth too? Otherwise, I'm going to live life like Mike Wazowski. Thank you.
Mike Wazowski at least got to hang out on Sully Sullenberger's head or shoulders.
Mike Wazowski also got bagged the hottest girl in Monsters Inc. too. So
yeah,
it's
good for him.
She got snakes for head.
This is the first time where I'm like, I have no clue what the fuck.
You haven't seen Monsters Inc.?
No.
It's a classic.
I am anti-animation. I don't watch anything in animation.
You're anti-animation. So okay,
you think it's
so
for
let's
babies?
Let's say that the intersection of animation in this program, Space Jam 2.
Yes.
Happens. Are you just going to refuse because you're anti-animation?
How much money we getting paid for it?
Oh my God! Wow.
How much money we getting paid to watch that?
Wow.
Wow.
Right. I'm not across the bow. Here we go.
My statement is a little bit overdone. It is a little bit hyperbolic in my saying of anti-animation.
Khalif just thinks that animators don't have real jobs. That's what he's saying. That's all he's saying.
Look. I think that they have real jobs. I think those talents would be better spent somewhere else. But I think that they have real jobs. No, look. If you give me a cartoon to watch that is, for people who are of a certain age, I enjoy Big Mouth in the previous seasons. The most recent season is kind of booty. But the previous
I'm getting okay, hold on. I'm getting a sense of why you might be anti-animation if the only thing you've fucking seen is Big Mouth.
I've seen
the most unpleasant thing to look at I've ever seen in my fucking life.
It's not
you've picked the one animation that when I look at it, I go, I don't want to be seeing this anymore.
It's the worst looking show on TV.
Is like Nick Kroll must have been hit in the head by a shovel when he was showing the storyboards of this thing.
Wow.
It was like, bang, oh. Yeah, hormone monsters. Yeah, back on the Santa Claus show. Sure, go for it. Oh yeah.
What are we gonna do?
Anyway, Netflix sponsor us.
Yo, see, this is what I'm saying. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it for real. You gotta do it for real. I am not a big. My wife has been trying to get me to watch Pixar movies, and I'm like, no. My wife's been trying to get me to watch old Disney's movies, and I'm like, why? I was like, look, I'm a child of the horror space. So if you made
there's scary animated movies. All horror movies are animated. The Cloverfield monster is not real, Khalif.
How do you know?
Fuck.
How do you know?
Well,
give me some facts on that.
Shit.
We got the president falling upstairs. We got people. We got
I thought that was fake. The first 5 images I saw today were of people having photoshopped Steph Curry at the top of the stairs doing a crossover, and then Biden on the falling on the steps, and I was like, this is a weird Photoshop. And then an hour and a half ago, I saw that he actually fell up the stairs twice.
The funniest thing about the Steph thing is he actually did bust his ass this week. He actually is out of a couple of games because he hurt his tailbone.
Yeah. He literally hurt his ass. Yeah, he fell too hard.
And it was the weirdest slow motion fall too, which is the part that made it worse because he fell and then he grabbed his ass. He was like, my ass. And then it was just like, oh my God. Steph.
Hey, has anyone photoshopped Jason Derulo on the Biden thing yet?
Ah, fuck. I gotta go.
Yes, they did. They basically said that Jason falling is the person who knocked Biden down off the stairs, which is kind of brilliant and kind of amazing. Again, this is our amazing Corner 3 basketball podcast.
This one's about
basketball. And also, please, if you're on the Apple Podcast platform, give us a 5-star review, because that way we don't ever fall, because we don't half step on this show. We don't do that ever. No. We have a lot of cool stuff to talk about this week, mostly around the trade rumors and the trade mill. We see that next week we'll have a really fantastic show because of the trade deadline will have been over on the 25th. We're recording this.
Yeah, we're going to pop off about that.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of things to talk about in that respect. So this week we want to kind of dig into Some of the folks that we think may necessarily be moving, or at least the rumors have been pretty high about who is not going to be with their respective teams come trade deadline of next week. We talked a little bit about, and I think we've talked about this over a couple of different episodes so far. Porzingis was one person that we thought might be moving, or at least there's conversations around that happening. And some other folks who have just like kind of been in the trade rumor mill in a big way. This week, I think we're going to talk about at least 4 folks I think are going to be probably at least in conversations in a real way. The first one who I think is
LeBron James.
If LeBron gets traded, I want him to get traded to the Hornets.
To the Hornets.
I think
for LaMelo, straight up, 1-for-1, straight up.
Yeah, 1-for-1
Who
for
says
LaMelo.
no?
I mean, if you're talking about animation, you got 2 of the LeBron keeps drawing hair on his head. So we have something to have in that conversation for sure. But one of the first perks we're going to talk about one of the Ball brothers. We're going to be talking about my man's LONZO. LONZO with the best.
Oh shit! The Justin Bieber guy's on that guy's arm. That's incredible.
Can you share what that reference actually means to the audience?
Justin Bieber sampled MLK as the opening track of his new album Justice, which you can find on Spotify and iTunes right now.
Wow! Oh my god! I don't even know what to do with that. That's the thing. I haven't listened to it. If this
I'm never gonna listen to it.
I have to listen to it now because you said that's the thing.
It's true.
You are my connection to the youth, Nikki, so I need to listen to our new civil rights leader,
Justin Bieber is the Detroit Beyond Human or whatever the fuck that's called. Wait, I'm mixing up. I'm conflating.
No, you're right.
David Cage.
You're right.
It's Beyond Two Souls. Isn't Detroit Beyond Human?
Yeah.
Become human.
Become human.
Whatever.
You're right. It's the same game. It's the same shit.
No one's quite sure.
It's the same thing. Also, now that Justin is now a part of our civil rights movement, and he's now leading it.
Thank you for your service, Justin. I appreciate you.
I love the fact you look directly in the camera.
Brother from the North, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin.
We just need the rest of the Mickey Mouse Club to come out and in support of Black Lives Matter. Because then I would actually make a big difference in the space. So LONZO, I don't know, what would we kind of say his season is kind of looking like right now? I've kind of been in and out of the conversation. Nikki, what's your thoughts?
He looks like he did before he got traded to the Pelicans last year. So, which is to say that like he looks. His basketball IQ is higher than the ability that his body has to play basketball. So he is going to be an incredible coach in 15 years. But like right now he's just, I don't think this is like because Lonzo's not trying. I just think that like his basketball IQ there's such a gulf there between his physical skill and ability and his basketball IQ that he's plateaued. I don't think he's going to make that step. I think his brother is already better than he was this far into his first season. And I think he will be a better player next year than Lonzo is now. However, I think if you're the Clippers or you are mostly just the Clippers and you're like, I need someone who can, pass the ball to the other 2 guys on my team who are okay at putting the ball in the net, but better at being killed by Luka Doncic. I will do what I can to kind of get him. But also, I was like, what's that dude on the Knicks? What's his name? Elfrid Payton?
Yep.
If I'm the Clippers, I trade him for Lou Williams. Straight up, because those numbers work according to me when I put them in the NBA ESPN trade machine 15 minutes before we started.
I mean, look,
that's just what Woj uses. Yeah, that's all he does. He doesn't look at the real numbers. He's just like,
Listen, the trade machine said it was green, so
And 2K will finally make a My Team card that will reflect that.
Exactly.
John, what are your thoughts about, I love that. I love that idea of basically he's better than his body will let him be. Do you feel like that's the sentiment that you share too?
Yeah. I think he is a high IQ player. I think he's cool. I think he's like, it's weird. He seems to care more about the game of basketball than LaMelo does. Like LaMelo doesn't give a shit about this. About this.
It just so happens that he's good.
Huh.
He's really good. He was interviewed the other day about like facing LeBron James, and he was just like, "Yeah, I don't really care. I didn't really grow up like caring about this stuff." And I'm like, all right. That's like when Maria Sharapova said that her toughest opponent wasn't Serena Williams. It's like, okay. Like, it's just kind of an interesting thing, but it's like, yeah, Lonzo's fine. He was always a part of that trade to me, to the Pelicans, that felt like he would be the first person out of New Orleans.
Yeah.
I just didn't really feel like that was his final resting place.
Oh my God, that got grim.
But I also don't know if the Clippers need him. I don't know. I guess
I feel like the Clippers are going to feel pressured to make a move because it is clear that they don't, even though, well, the Lakers 4-game winning streak, baby, let's go. We're back in it, and AD's not even playing. So like, I love my guys. But like, I don't know, if I'm the Clippers, like, I'm looking at the Lakers and the Jazz, and I'm like, we can't beat either of these teams.
Yeah. Right.
In 5 or 7. So like, I'm trying to do anything I can within a very narrow, because they don't have any money on account of the fact that they've given all of their money to two men, one man with a degenerative leg disease and the other one who can't put the ball in the net. So like, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a move made to make a move. Like when we signed J.R. Smith at the end of last season.
Yeah.
Right.
Did he even score during the time that he was?
I think he played in the finals for 2 minutes.
Yeah. And got another ring. Wow.
Got another ring.
Anyway. But my question before we move off of Lonzo is, because I think this is actually important too. So in the future forecasting for where we see Lonzo kind of being in the league, because I don't think he's a bust yet.
No.
Like, I don't think he's a bust. I don't think he's
a bust.
But I do wonder, that conversation in my mind is ringing really, really loudly in terms of like his IQ is much higher than his skill. There's usually a turn at some point where you decide that you need to change your game in some form or fashion to better reflect the fact that your IQ is better than your game. What at this point do you think he needs to kind of change in his game to get to that point where he's able to actually use that IQ in a way that feels more, acclimated to not only his game going forward, but the way the league looks right now in terms of the teams that are kind of available? I want to go to you, John, on that first.
I don't know. Start with Nikki on that one. I don't really have much of an opinion on this one.
I feel like, I think the frustrating thing, at least having watched Lonzo for a couple of years here in LA, was that his shooting form sucks. It's not good.
He does do this. And I'm so sorry for our audio listeners. It's like a weird, like he's
it's a slingshot. He starts
he shakes it by his head, and then he shakes it like a Christmas gift by his head. He's like, "Ooh, what's in here?" And then he goes, "Yeah," and that's like, how he shoots. It's very bizarre.
I don't think he's. I don't know. What was Jason Kidd doing before he retired? That's what Lonzo Ball needs to do.
I mean, he literally was just running the break as fast as he could and lobbing the ball to people.
That's what Lonzo Ball needs to do.
Oh, that's what he's doing now with Zion.
Yeah, I think that's
for the most part. Right? Like, he's kind of doing that now, right? Where he's doing that part. Well, I wonder, too, like, if Lonzo is still trying to figure out not only how to fit into the league, but I feel like also your ego took a massive shot when you got bumped off of literally one of the biggest teams in the NBA league, right?
And also now your brother people are literally saying your brother is the player we thought you were going to be.
Yeah, it's just not
which is
nice.
A wild thing to say to a person, or not
really
a person.
Not a nice thing to say.
Wild thing to say about him, but it's so like
it's
not true, right?
Right. I just think he needs a new start, and I also don't think that like John said at the beginning, like this. It is weird because the young Lakers core from 3 years ago suddenly became the core of the Pelicans, but then the Pelicans still had guys on the team, and also they still had aspirations to get other guys. So
Right.
it like he's the one where it's like if the team isn't built around his very specific skill set, then like obviously he's going to be the one that falls off the train first.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So the countdown to Barcelona has started.
He needs to be a better. Yeah. He needs to be a better.
I said this last week. They need to let you trade.
He needs to find something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said this last week, but they need to let you trade out of the league.
Yeah. 100%.
With the
you should be able. Yes, you should. We should be able to trade fucking Wesley Matthews for anybody in Turkey.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You leave that man alone. Whenever he shoots the ball, he does a bow and arrow
thing. But I brought this up to Nikki the other day on Twitter, and his response to me was, "Yeah, but he doesn't hit any of those anymore, so it doesn't matter. He doesn't ever do the bow and arrow thing." Yeah. I was like, "Oh, Wes Matthews does the fun bow and arrow thing."
It's very cool.
Like, yeah, but he doesn't. Wow. He doesn't hit those though. So
he's like old man Hawkeye.
He's so
not
old.
Hitting shit. Just like not. Just like
I don't like Wesley Matthews.
You really don't like Wesley Matthews.
No, listen. Okay, here's my logic. The last time I felt this way about a player, it was Kentavious Caldwell Pope. You know what happened? We bullied that man so hard he became good at basketball. So,
yeah, KCP.
I've never heard your voice go that high.
I've never heard that octave. KCP. It was great.
KCP couldn't leave the state of California to play basketball games for like 4 months.
Sure.
And we bullied this man into being a crucial piece of a championship basketball team. Bullying works.
I mean,
I've said it once. I'll say it again.
You said it on so many shows. We have had content warnings to like every show that you're on.
The views and thoughts of Nikki Grayson are not reflected by the rest of the
do not reflect Fanbyte or the Tencent Corporation.
Next up is Zach Levine. I think he has a really interesting space that he occupies currently. He's playing
like a Lopez brother here.
I mean, he could be a Lopez brother. Who knows? He has the most upside so far of anybody else that we've seen, at least right now, in terms of the conversation. Well, there's one player that we're going to get to, I think is still kind of, in his heyday of what that looks like. But Zach is having a fantastic season. He is carrying the Bulls to a pretty decent record. I forgot what record they have right now where they kind of land in the standings. But of all the folks right now who are kind of hot and people are talking about in terms of being a really good addition to somebody else's team besides the Bulls, Zach Levine seems to be doing that work. And then also shout out to Kenny Smith, who gave all the love to him, talking about he do them dunks in the layup line. Nobody else do them dunks. And I was like, man, listen, you leave everybody else alone. What are your thoughts on Zach Levine? I think he has a really interesting space that he's occupying right now from not only his game standpoint, where it's kind of grown into him becoming a more all-around player who you can actually count on in the clutch,
right?
Than being the player who we thought he was maybe a couple of years ago, where he was literally just like, I'm going to just dunk on people and that's all I'm going to be able to do. Yeah. John, what are your thoughts about your man Zach?
I mean, he's obviously improved his shooting game. Like, he's still not a great defender. I think the thing about Zach Levine that's interesting is that I think he would be a really great addition to a lot of teams. But now that the Bulls are in the 9th seed right now,
right,
which gets you into the playoffs, as a reminder from our last conversation, it's okay. So they trade him, but that they're just giving up on the season then, right? I mean, like, they're in a space where they could probably sneak into the playoffs. I don't really see it because, I mean, Lauri Markkanen is not, whatever. He dunked the other day it got a highlight. And I realized that it's the only, I think that's the only highlight I've ever seen Lauri Markkanen get ever.
Wow.
I think
And now
I was
it's
just
worth
like-
$35,000 on NBA Top Shot.
$35,000
Yeah.
on Top Shot.
Yep.
So do the Bulls give up? I don't know about that, but I mean, Zach Levine is definitely a better player than I think people expected him to be a couple of years ago, where he was, as you alluded to, very one-dimensional.
Right.
And now he's I don't know if he's a Donovan Mitchell level player, but he's kind of getting into that mold a little bit of having other aspects of his game besides just being able to throw it down. So.
Nikki, what are your thoughts about Zach Levine?
John, you said that a lot of teams would I don't know where you send him. Like what are the Bulls looking for that the Bulls
I
to
don't know
me
what the
seem
Bulls
like they're
are looking for in return.
Yeah,
I mean, there are a lot of teams that it doesn't work, but it's the Mavericks would like an additional scorer alongside Luka Doncic.
Sure.
There are a lot of teams if the fucking San Antonio Spurs aren't selling everyone, that would be a good fit. Houston's at the fucking bottom, but whatever. There are a lot of teams that could use him, but I think you're right. I don't know what the Bulls get in return.
Yeah.
Besides picks and some role players,
Myers Leonard.
Yeah,
and picks.
Okay.
Picks right now don't seem that okay.
Now we're talking.
They did ship Myers Leonard to Oklahoma,
Sure,
where his views are accepted more readily, which is
true punishment.
True.
Go be with your people, Myers. That was easy.
It's only they find Paul. The NBA fined Paul George $35,000 today because he's talked shit about a ref, which means that it's over half as bad as using a generationally affecting slur.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yep. Good job, NBA.
Thanks, Adam.
Good job, NBA. I agree with both of you. I don't know where Zach would go. It still feels like his game is good enough to kind of potentially be a franchise-changing player in that way. But it makes me think, and I'll ask this really quick before we move on to our next person. Who would you rather have on your team right now at this point? Would you rather have Zach Levine or Adam Levine? Which one would you want?
On my team specifically?
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and say Zach Levine.
Okay.
On my basketball team.
Yeah.
Okay, not my bad white boy tattoo team.
Yes.
Okay, so basketball team. Yeah, Zach Levine. I would take Zach Levine.
I'll take Adam Levine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Adam Levine. So you want Levine to start on the New York Knickerbockers?
I would take him over Ntilikina right now.
Wow.
At least.
Oh my God.
At least I have. I have a token white dude on my squad.
When will Frank ever be loved?
Never. I'll take him because I need a token white dude. I need a guy who looks good in the A shirt, and I also need someone who can turn around in a chair really quickly and smack a buzzer. That's
valid. Okay, I think there aren't enough moving, spinning chairs on the NBA benches anymore.
On the NBA bench,
That's what I miss about old school basketball. Like when I was watching basketball in the 80s, I was like, listen, hand checking is good. You should be able to beat the shit out of players. And then every day I was like, I just love it when Pat Riley smashes that big button and turns around.
Just imagine if that was the way the draft went, if it was just like The Voice. Imagine if you were for the 15th pick, who wants them? And then whoever has to turn around and smack
whoever does it the fastest,
they get whoever the fuck they want. That would be brilliant. I would love that, actually.
I still think the lottery should be a tournament. It should be horse. Or 3v3.
It should be a tournament. We talked about that last week. I still want to see that implemented. It needs to be a thing. Next up is somebody who I think is kind of still under the radar in terms of their visibility across the league because of where they play, is our dude Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield.
I forgot about him until this year.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Right. I still like those Sacktown jerseys. Those are really good.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're really good. Buddy Hield.
That building is nice too.
It is a nice building. I've heard it's beautiful. Buddy feels
still in Sacramento though, so
I mean, You know,
It's like you win some, you lose most, you know?
I mean,
You lose most. I'll say this: you lose most.
wow.
Having driven to Portland once, and my wife and I are like, let's spend the night in Sacramento. Next
That
time
was a
we
mistake.
won't. It was a mistake.
The
Anyway,
feelings of John and Nikki about Sacramento are not fully realized. Right now.
we've hit what have we hit? Oklahoma. We've hit
Oklahoma
Sacramento.
one stays.
We've
I got
we've done
family there now.
Bully.
That one stays. We're not pulling that one out of the show. Oklahoma, y'all can get it. But buddy, shout out to Broken Arrow. Anyway, Buddy feels like a kind of a throwback player a little bit, right? He feels like a really good swing. What is he? He's a 2 or a 3.
No one's quite sure. He's like Harrison Barnes.
He's a tweener. He's a tweener in that way.
Yeah. He's a little bit
Put
more
ball
of
in hole.
a volume shooter, but yeah.
Yeah. Is that? I mean, can you even use that language anymore? A volume shooter when everybody's a volume shooter at this point in the league?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Everyone is just like, oh, is that a logo? I'm shooting from it. That's great. But it feels like Buddy, in terms of the conversation too, feels like one of those, like, you add him to the squad and you instantly get someone who can really contribute to not only a playoff team, but to it feels like he's either like really contribute to a playoff team or get your team from the 10th spot, which is now a playoff spot,
Right.
to the 8th spot.
They deserve it.
Yeah, right. Like you
They
can get,
deserve
like
it.
you can move.
They showed up.
Yeah, like you're
You're the 10th best out of 15.
right. Ain't this the most
Get in.
participation trophy shit you ever seen in your
Listen, they deserve it.
life? Oh my god. But it feels- go ahead.
You
What are your
think
thoughts on Buddy?
you think the Kings will take Wesley Matthews for him?
Not after what you just said about Wesley Matthews. You know they listen to
He's
the
really
No, I
good
don't
though.
think so.
When he hits a 3, he does a cool bow and arrow thing. It's really cool.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard legends. I've heard rumors of this legend.
I think Buddy Hield would be perfect in San Antonio
Really? Yeah. That would make a lot of sense. I feel like
with a coach that isn't named Luke Walton. This man will
Wow.
blossom.
Sky's the fucking limit. If can you imagine De'Aaron Fox when he plays for anyone else?
yeah.
That's gonna be wild. Anyway,
I'm waiting for him to come up on trade rumors. Like when his stuff
Yeah.
goes, and I'm waiting for him to go somewhere because he's going to be a monster.
I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like NBA players should never throw money away because your body is limited, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I would throw away $15 million to not have to play in Sacramento anymore.
Just dump it. Just like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, I would be like, I'm not signing this extension. I would rather go anywhere else than play in Sacramento.
Barcelona.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, come on. Barcelona is way better than Sacramento.
Yo.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I
There's
mean,
so many
Sacramento
better.
don't got no tapas. There ain't no tapas in Sacramento.
No, unless you fucking count cow shit as tapas.
Wow.
In which case,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
they've got
Wow.
a bunch of tapas.
Wow.
Sacramento fucking sucks. I don't know why both of you were surprised. It's one of the worst cities
I'm
in the
not
state.
surprised.
I've
This
never
is a
been.
terrible city. It is a terrible city.
I've never been. I can't talk to
Don't.
Do you remember how boring the locales of the film Lady Bird were? That
Oh
was
my
in
God.
Sacramento.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like the
Anyway.
the city shaming is fantastic.
Can't believe it's the capital.
I mean, Albany's the capital, so whatever,
Yeah, that's true.
Fucking-
right?
It's dumb.
Anyway, do we feel like he can actually like really make some noise if he winds up moving? Is the thing where you feel like he can actually get a team over the hump in any kind of form or fashion with his play and also where he is in his career, which feels like he's on the uprise, on the uptick in that way. John?
He's in his late 20s, I think. Yeah, I think he could be one of those players that remember when Andre Iguodala like started, was kind of toward the end of his prime, but kept going to teams that like he made better, like
right
very
after the
clearly.
Sixers?
Yeah, right after
Yeah,
the Sixers when he
like-
ended up in the Warriors, and you were like, "Oh, this is
Like-
fucked up."
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of maybe reminds me of Buddy Hield a little, not from a skill set standpoint. They have
Yeah.
very different skill standpoints, but like one of those players, like you said, that like I think on an already good team would create extremely difficult problems for
Yeah.
opponents in the playoffs. Like one of those players that like, yeah, may score 7 to 12 points a game on a stacked team already, but then like every 5 nights is going to drop like 25 like randomly because they're not covering him, or they've got other stuff to worry about, and then it's like, oh, like he's just jacking up shots and hitting most of them. Like Buddy Hield, I don't know if it is like a number 2 player, like difference maker on a team. I don't think like he might get an okay team out of the bottom and into the very bottom of the playoffs. But like I see him more as, let's go all in on winning a championship this year. Let's add someone to a roster that's going to be a key member of just making it hard for our opponent. Just having another player to worry about.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it.
Nikki, any thoughts on Buddy Hield?
Nah, let free him. Free Buddy Hield.
Hashtag free Buddy Hield.
Yeah.
Just like Free Billie Jean. That was a great movie. Go watch that. I'm old. Last person is Ovo's own. Straight from the 6. Our dude, the man, the myth, the legend. I don't remember his name. Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry. I picked this picture specifically because of the look on his face.
Because it sounds like that's what he's saying.
He's like,
that's what he's saying.
Why am I still here? Like, that's the look on his face right now.
It's tough what happened to Toronto. Sorry, I mean Tampa Bay, huh?
Wow.
Tampa Bay Raptors.
Wow, Tampa Bay Raptors.
It's tough. I still can't believe that they just let Kawhi walk. But
I mean, it was a dumb move. They had literally just won a championship.
Yeah, I feel like it would have gone harder, but also maybe he just didn't like Toronto. I don't know. I feel like Kyle Lowry makes any team he touches, but Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan back together in San Antonio. I miss when the Spurs were good, I think is what I'm realizing.
Now you miss when the Spurs were good.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
I missed when the Spurs were good.
I don't miss that though. Like because
they
we had that for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that now they bad. Now whenever they beat my Lakers in the playoffs, I was like, just got out coached. That's pop magic, isn't it?
True.
And now it's like I couldn't name. Is the Australian guy still there? Patty Mills.
Patty
Mills is still there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm also like not watching Spurs games because I'm not getting, because they're not good, and I'm not getting any of those good HEB commercials in my mind anymore. So I just kind of like miss when the Spurs were worth watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because
miss Manu Ginobili Spectrum commercials.
Yeah.
I miss it when he killed Bat.
Oh, that's right. He smacked the bat.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Barkley's not screaming Manu Ginobili anymore. He has no one to scream about at this point.
No.
It's kind of a sad
Tony Pacquiao.
Tony Pacquiao. Tony wasn't dope, and Tony was only dope when he was dating Eva. That was the only time that he was when he was.
How do you fuck that up?
And then he fucked it up.
How do you fuck up dating?
He fucked it up. How do you do that?
How?
I don't know.
That's a sign of the times. Pop didn't coach him up well.
Remember when Ed Norton cheated on Salma Hayek?
Yes.
No.
Like, yes. Fucking imagine that.
I was like, think 6.
How? Yeah, you were like 6.
Let me tell you about Salma Hayek. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Anyway.
So fine. Anyway,
this who are we talking about?
Respectfully, Mrs. Hayek. Come on, corner 3.
Come on, late lunch.
Please. We could
Salma Hayek, come on, late lunch. Yeah, send Kyle Lowry to the Spurs. I don't know. I feel like Kyle Lowry is gonna. One of two things is going to happen. He's going to. The Raptors going to want too much for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because he's Kyle Lowry. He's the only piece they have, really. I guess they have Pascal Siakam, but like they're not trading him. He's 8 years old or whatever.
Right.
Or they free the homie and they're like, "Thank you for your time here. We would rather have the reputation of doing right by our players," and they take a sweetheart deal basically from someone to get him out, and they take like draft picks. Like they're just like, we'll take 2024 and 24, 5, and 6, like first and second round picks.
Yeah.
Just
So
to get
anybody
him
who's
to
in junior high school now will
exactly. Just so they can get him, somewhere, and also maintain the idea like that. I mean, nobody's going to go to Toronto in free agency, but like, just so they can be able to say we do right by our players, and like, which I think carries some more weight than, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't.
If you were guaranteed ad libs on a Drake track to go,
I would. I would play in Toronto. Absolutely.
If you were guaranteed,
I also think Toronto's a good city.
I mean, I do too, but like,
I'd rather. Are y'all saying to me right now that you would rather play in? I'm gonna give you a list of cities where there are National Basketball Association teams.
Give me a list.
Oh, I think Toronto's fine. Great. No, I don't. I would rather be in Toronto. I like Toronto. Like, Toronto is fine. I'm just saying Drake is not the incentive. I mean, like, if I wanted to leave creepy messages on an answering machine, I could do that on my spare time. I don't need to fucking be on a Drake track to do that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do know what you mean.
Yeah, all right. You just don't think that's like much of an incentive. I don't. It's like,
yeah, you know what, John? You're right. I didn't even think about that. I could do that for free.
We are only 8 episodes into this show, and that is the truest shit that has ever been said on Corner 3 so far to date. Oh my god!
The thing about, I think that's interesting to me about this year and this specific trade deadline is that I can't think of any team that has anybody good enough to give up for a single name.
Yeah.
And like, if you're a GM, I don't know why you would be like, I'm going to sacrifice a starter and a bench piece in a year when sometimes we only have 8 players to play with. Right. Why you would sacrifice, kind of, at a certain point, why you would sacrifice the consistency and why you would sacrifice the other body on the squad for any one guy, especially if you're not one of the top 4 or 5 teams now.
I wonder too if, and I didn't think about this until now, and it kind of goes back to the conversation around the new playoff kind of system, right? Where there isn't really any incentive.
Yeah,
really,
it's like a weird
try
year.
To push for the 8 spot in the same way, where you would see you'd see teams kind of do that thing of like, we got to make this last push for the season to kind of save to save it, and now you can go to the 10th team. Yeah, you're kind of right. Like, there isn't a reason to kind of do that extra move when you can sneak in and still get the same kind of draft picks you would have gotten if you had to get to the 8 spot, right?
Yeah, I think the buyout market, like if you're the Lakers, for example, hypothetically, and you desperately are in need of a big man because you, for some reason, let Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee go, who were making $35 a year for some reason, and you are like, I need a center. Like, obviously you're like, okay, I'm going to call LaMarcus Aldridge and see what he's up to, or I'm going to call Andre Drummond and see what he's up to. But like, I'm not trading anybody on that squad for anybody in the league. Like, I would rather have the same team and not lose anybody and keep the core together than lose some pieces to then not guaranteed make the team. It's just like a weird year for it.
Yeah. Kyle Lowry won an NBA title too. It's not.
He's done. He should retire. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. Listen, like when you after you win one, you get greedy for a second. I mean, it's the reason that you do this. I understand that. So it's like, I'm not saying like he's got his, so whatever, but like, I don't know. It's not. I don't know. It's not like he never won a championship. Toronto is like his team. He turns 35 next week. I just don't, like, I look at this much the same way that I looked at how we treated Dirk Nowitzki toward the end of his career, where it's like, we probably could have traded him to some team that needed that needed that help even in his late
Yeah.
career, and
Right.
like that would have made a difference for some team, but like he didn't really seem all that interested. I don't even know how interested Kyle Lowry is. Like he's basically said
Yeah.
like, okay, I've got some power to like decide where I go.
Right.
But to me, whenever you start that conversation of like, oh, we're going to work together to decide where I'm going to go, that typically says to me that ultimately we're going to end up with like, he's going to stay in place. I feel.
Yeah.
Mm.
But teams could use him. Like I'm not calling out his age to say like he can't still play, because he's really, really good.
Yeah.
Great defender, great vision, scrappy player.
Yep.
And like
Good motor, high IQ.
High IQ, good motor. Just love to see
Does
it
all the right
go.
things off the field.
All the right stuff.
Good
Just
family, good household.
Those intangibles through the roof.
Oh God.
Yeah, but like he's a good player. Like put him on any squad, and it's an improvement. But I don't know. I'm not moved by the idea. I think the other players on this list are more exciting to me as trade fodder. But yeah, I don't know if there's a contender toward the top that could really use him, then cool. But it's like if it was going to be like the Bucks, then they wouldn't have just made that PJ Tucker deal.
Right.
So it's like there's just like, I don't know. I'm not really seeing it. Like he's from Philly, but like that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, especially if it's just like, where are they going to move Ben Simmons to power forward permanently? Like,
you mean
maybe that would work. Maybe that would be great. Yeah, maybe. If it's Kyle Lowry, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid, like you can put anyone at that 2 spot. That's a good team. So like, I don't know. Like if you can make that work, then great. But I don't know. I just don't know if I see it.
It's going to be a really interesting week from now until the end of the trade deadline, because a lot of teams are not going to be making that big move because all the big moves and all the big players are off the board. Yeah. It will be interesting to see teams like the Knicks, teams like Boston, teams like not Sacramento, the Pelicans, to see what they wind up doing to both kind of bolster, because they all have fairly young teams with like missing pieces that could be the next step that gets them over the hump. So yeah, we'll have a lot of conversations about that. We'll have a lot of insight into what actually happens next week on next week's show, because right after the trade deadline is when we do that recording. So stick around and hang out with us here on Corner 3 next week, especially because we'll have some good insight into all of that stuff. Before we go, we have to give massive love to Sean Bradley and his family, who was in a horrible accident that caused him to be paralyzed. We've talked about his contribution to the league once or twice on the show. And it's always super sad to see something like that happen to someone in the league who had a fairly interesting impact on the league in and of itself. I know he got clowned a lot for getting dunked on a bunch, and he was kind of big and slow.
He's really tall.
And being really tall, but he was an interesting project in terms of a player. Yeah. You hate to see stuff like that happen to anyone in that way. So massive love to him and his family. We're going to get up out of here for this episode. Again, thank you so much for checking out the show. We have the best shirts on the planet, and that is something that you can get too if you go where, Nikki?
Store.fanbite.com.
And if you wanted to be a part of the conversation and tell us how dope John's shirt is and how dusty my shirt is, go to where, Nikki? Where would you go?
Fanbite.casa. Next week, we're doing a watch along of Lakers Sixers on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Be there or be square.
Or
you fucking herbs.
The statements of Nikki Grayson are not the ones here. Corner 3 or
no, it'll be a lot of fun. Even if you listen to the show and you're like, I don't know basketball, but I just listen because it's fun. Thank you, first of all, but second of all, you should come hang out, because
come hang out.
I'll be there.
Call you a herb while he explains basketball to you.
Oh, you herb.
Yeah,
I love it.
No, it'll be fun. I'm excited
for that for sure.
Next Thursday.
Any fantastic other shows that are coming up, John, across the Fanbite network that you want to plug?
Oh my gosh, we have so many great shows. K-Hole was really good this week
Yeah.
with Mary Kay. Good interview with Felix Biederman. Let's see.
You heard of Spawn on
I have a
Me?
show.
Nope.
Yeah, I've heard of Spawn on Me. Spawn on Me is really good.
They
That was a good one
Um,
this week.
They're full of herb.
Whoever hosts
yeah.
that, I think, is good at their job.
He's a herb.
He's got a future ahead of him, but maybe.
John, your show
I
is
don't
good.
know.
Your show is very, very good.
My show is good. It's called Thanks for Knowledge. It airs every Friday. It's up right now, actually. So it's a news show. Talked to Imran Khan, our news editor, about the riot and Blizzard madness this week. Can you believe Bobby Kotick got $200 million in bonus money after firing 200 people?
Man,
That's
Dang.
we are not going to speak.
He's gonna go make. He's gonna go make Moneyball 2 through 8 with that money.
He absolutely is, and then he'll probably pull in freaking Buddy Heald and make a show about it. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this week's Corner 3. Make sure you're checking out our work here and all the wonderful things that Nikki and John just shared across the Fanbyte Network. Make sure you're checking out our show on Apple Podcasts and giving us a 5-star review so that we can keep the lights on and making sure that we can make everything dope for you. So until then, have a wonderful weekend. Make sure you wash your hands, wash your butt, keep yourself safe, and we'll see you all next week. Much love to you all, and peace.